How do you explain? How do you describe a love that goes from east to west and runs as deep as it is wide? You know all our hopes, Lord, you know all our fears, and words cannot express the love we feel, but we long for you to hear. So listen to our Lord, please listen to our spirit sing, and hear us sing a song of praise, a simple song of praise. For those you have heard, those you have redeemed, we will use the words we know to tell you what an awesome God you are. But words are not.
Hi, welcome to Verse of the Day. My name is Brandon Hathaway, and I'm the preacher at the Westside Church of Christ here in Owensboro, Kentucky. And I want to thank you for joining me as we again open up our Bibles and study the Word of God. We are continuing through the book of Exodus, and I hope that you are following along with our daily reading, which is reading these chapters. And during my daily Bible verse of the day, I pick out a verse or two and talk about the chapter, and then talk about focus in on a verse or two a little more specific out of that chapter. And so I hope that you are following along. Right now we're working our way through the book of Exodus. And so here in Exodus chapter 5 is where we're at, Exodus chapter 5. Again, so we just the beginning of the life of Moses basically as we enter into this book. And Moses, of course, he's talked to God through the burning bush. He has been sent back to go forth and speak to the children of Israel, to go approach the Pharaoh. And so the end of the chapter 4, what we talked about yesterday, where the children of Israel had, they've worshiped God because they were thankful that God had heard their cries, and that God was going to free them. And they sent Moses. But again, if you read chapter 5, after the Pharaoh makes things a little bit harder on them, and you get down to, let's see here, verse 21, they said, "Then the Lord look on you, judge, because you have made us stink in the sight of the Pharaoh." And so they from one point of worshiping and thankful, and next point, look what you've done. And so it's just a quick, they are so quick. And that's what you see again, even once they get out of Egypt, how quick they are to turning back to their complaints. And so, but I want to look at verse 2, if you will, verse 2 for the verse of the day. It says, "But Pharaoh said, 'Who is the Lord?'" This is after Moses and Aaron had approached him in verse 1, saying, "Please let the people go." God has said, "Let the people go." And it says, "But Pharaoh said, 'Who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and moreover, I will not let Israel go.'" And further than that, as I've already kind of stated too, he ends up making their task harder. They were brick makers, and so therefore there were certain ingredients to make that brick, and the Pharaoh and his servants had taken those things away. The Egyptians had taken the straw away. And yet they expected them to make the same amount of bricks every day while having to get in their own straw. And so adding more work to them and expecting the same results in the same amount of time. And so you can understand a little bit on why Israel would be a little upset, because things have just got worse instead of better like they thought it was supposed to be. But the Pharaoh here is just the plain mindset. Who told you? Who told me to let him go? In Pharaoh's eyes, he is in charge. He is the king. He is God. And so certainly they have their own other gods, idols that they worship. But the Pharaoh himself, just high and mighty as it can come. And again, it goes to show that it truly is a time that they did not know who Joseph was, because Joseph would, through Joseph, they knew our God. And as Jacob, Israel had come there and had blessed the Pharaoh at that time. It's just so much time has passed by that they do not know Whereas, when Moses had asked, who do I say that has sent me when I approach Israel, when I approach the Israelites, God said, I am God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Well, that means something to Israel, to the Pharaoh. So who's Abraham? Who's Isaac? Who's Jacob? Who's Joseph? So he does not know. And so we're going to get into the plagues, and the Pharaoh is going to learn who God is. We certainly don't want to be in that same position of who is God. So if you're asking that question, I ask that you reach out to me. Let us study the Word of God so that you can learn who God is and what he can do for you. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope that you have a blessed day. And if the Lord wills, I will talk to you later.